Onebar and Lupagus Show, your daily source for everything Minnesota Vikings.
Hi, it's me, your favorite atrocious content creator here on the Onebar and Lupagus network. Welcome back to Spittin Fire with Koda. A couple housekeeping things. First of all, you legally have to be nice to me because I am sick. Your boy has bronchitis, but the show must go on. And you all really thought that you were going to get a week without me. Did you? Did you really think that? I'm like a cockroach. At the end of everything, it's going to be the cockroaches, Tom Cruise doing his own stunts, and me and my atrocious takes. Thank you to the person who commented that. That is now my brand. The second thing that I wanted to mention is you don't have to like my opinions. You don't have to like anyone's opinions on the internet. There has been a trend lately in the Minnesota Vikings community in which a lot of people are getting really heated about other people's opinions, and I'm getting real sick and tired of it. I don't claim to be an expert. I know about football, probably not as much as some other people, but I know enough about football to clearly have my own segment on a really popular network here on YouTube for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't think Onebar and Lupagus would have given me this opportunity if they didn't think I knew my stuff. But everything I talk about, whether it's on social media, on here, or in my day-to-day life when it comes to the Minnesota Vikings, is purely my opinion based on things that I observe during games. You don't have to like it. The same thing, I'm sure, goes for a lot of the stuff that Onebar and Lupagus do, or Jason, or Dustin, or Thor, or any other sports personality here in the Minnesota Vikings community. You don't have to like what we say. Nobody's asking you to. We are all, however, asking for respect. You don't have to agree with us to respect us, but I shouldn't be getting some of the DMs that I'm getting, or some of the comments that, and to be quite honest and frank about it, are borderline sexist just because you don't like my takes. So I hope we can all agree with that, because at the end of the day, I have this amazing opportunity that not a lot of women, not just in the Minnesota Vikings community, but in football in general, don't get. I get the ability to talk about my opinions, my takes, and do it in a heated fashion, such as Pat McAfee or any of your favorite roundtable segments. So with that being said, speaking about all the wonderful women here in the Minnesota Vikings community, check out Aries Archive. I am a huge fan of Aries Archive. My very first episode here, Spittin Fire with Koda, I was wearing my wonderful crop Minnesota Vikings jersey done by the wonderful Aries Archive. You can use code SPITFIRE15 for 15% off site-wide at Aries Archive now. Go check them out. They are wonderful, amazing. You will not have any regrets. Trust me. They have some really, really cute Minnesota Vikings scrunchies that I plan on getting my hands on, because you know your boy loves some scrunchies. But with that being said, let's get into it, shall we? So I got under some heat on Sunday for a tweet I made crashing out about TJ Hawkinson. And you all know my feelings about TJ Hawkinson at this point. And I'm not going to sit here and deny that he hasn't been taking extra snaps as more of a blocker versus a receiver. However, that's part of his job. That's what tight ends are supposed to do. If they're not receiving, they're blocking. It's one or the other, sometimes both. And my tweet, specifically the one about me crashing out over TJ Hawkinson, which I guess a lot of people fail to realize, was immediately after his half-ass sack resulted in a sack against Carson Wentz. Hence my crash out. And then immediately after, he proved me wrong. He had a pretty amazing reception with some yards, and I believe he had a touchdown on Sunday. I might be wrong, though, on that one. But I know that after that tweet, he did some pretty impressive things, and I was happy about it. And you can go back on my tweets and see that I was happy about it. But I'm still going to continue the TJ Hawkinson hatred, because blocking is a part of the tight end position. I know that we are really used to more receiving like tight ends nowadays, with George Kittle, Travis Kelce, TJ Hawkinson. But one of the reasons I've always loved the tight end position and why my all-time favorite Minnesota Vikings player, who is Kyle Rudolph, is a tight end, and is because the tight end position is really unique. They are versatile. They have the ability to be one or another thing. And I think that shows in the fact that Kevin O'Connell literally said that they planned on putting Josh Oliver out there as an emergency O-line guy. Tight ends are made to be versatile. Yeah, he's taking a lot with chipping. Yeah, he's doing a lot of blocking. But from what I am seeing, my personal opinion, from what I am seeing, I don't think he's doing enough. He went one-on-one, pushed a guy to the side, moved on to somebody else, and because of it, Carson Wentz got sacked. TJ Hawkinson on Sunday was 4 for 5, 4 receptions for 5 targets. He had 39 yards with an average of 9.8 yards. He had no touchdowns, so that was my bad. I was thinking about the Cincinnati game where he had a touchdown. And okay, there's a train going by because I guess that's what they do now. Overall, he's not impressing me this season. Yeah, most games he misses maybe one target, but that's still one target too many when you have a maximum in one game of only 6 targets. And again, I get it. I know that he is still also blocking because of all the injuries. I'm not dumb. I'm not stupid. Please don't insinuate that. But come on, dude. You are averaging at least 1 drop a game. At least 1 drop a game. Against Atlanta, he had 2 drops. He had 3 targets, only 1 reception. It's not a stat I like. Now, if he was targeted more often, absolutely. And to be fair, it's not entirely his fault. And not just in regards to because he's also blocking. Now, I know a lot of y'all are going to come at me and say that it's Kevin O'Connell's fault here that he's not getting the ball. And I have to heavily disagree. One of my all-time favorite people on Twitter, Jason, shout out to my guy, Jason, just tweeted out talking about how Kevin O'Connell actually was scheming really well in the game Sunday, that a lot of our guys were open. They just weren't getting the ball. And now that boils down to one of 2 things. One thing we're talking about a lot right now, which is the offensive line. We've got 2nd, 3rd string guys in right now because of all the injuries that we've had. Thank God Brian O'Neill is week to week. I don't know what I would have done if he was placed on IR. I think I may have lost it and shaved my head. However, to the people who still believe that Carson Wentz is the answer, he clearly isn't. Based on the fact that Kevin O'Connell was making it simple for him. He was coming up with these wonderful schemes to get our guys open. Carson Wentz just wasn't seeing them. And again, it goes hand in hand with the offensive line. We should have had given him enough time to get those guys. Totally understand. Not going to disagree with you there. But at some point, you have to have the question, is it also a Carson Wentz issue? Because y'all are going to hate me for this, and I know you're going to hate me for this. We've had a quarterback who's had just as bad of an offensive line and pretty often would still make those passes. Hi, Kirk. How you doing, babe? I miss you every day. Now, that's not to say, before you all take that out of context, you all know that I was one of the only people that was heavily pushing for JJ McCarthy. While everyone was on the Drake May train, I was heavily pushing for JJ McCarthy. I got the receipts. Onebar and Lupagus have got the receipts because their show was one of the first places I talked about it. I fully believe in JJ McCarthy. I fully believe a lot of his issues come down to the offensive line. I think when the offensive line is healthy or we get better guys in there to cover, he's going to be phenomenal. Additionally, to come back with this point again, you guys need to realize that rookie and brand new to the NFL quarterbacks are not always going to hit 100% of the time. Somebody got mad at someone else on Twitter today or a couple days ago for comparing Josh Allen and JJ McCarthy starts. They're nearly identical. And look at how we view Josh Allen now. Look at Peyton Manning's first start. I know I keep going back to this, but you guys need to realize these quarterbacks need to be developed. They're not all just instantly going to go out there and be major successes. Even Aaron Rodgers sat. Even Aaron Rodgers didn't have the best couple of games when he started. And I hate that guy. And I'm using him as an example. You guys need to chill. And I'm sorry, as much as I love Max and think that he's an icon and am like the vice president of his fan club purely because of the Adam Thielen video where Adam Thielen is like dapping up JJ McCarthy and Carson Wentz and just completely skips Matt Brosmer. Brosmer goes like this to himself, and it's my favorite thing ever. Do not put that kid behind that offensive line right now. I don't care how Nick Mullins-y Carson Wentz is. Do not put Max behind that offensive line. Save that kid. I think Max also has the potential to be something really great, but not if we get him injured. We already lost one young quarterback for a couple weeks. I don't want to lose another. Please don't make me do it. Now, speaking of Twitter, because I guess today is my debunk Twitter day, and you know what? That's fine by me. Let's talk about Dallas Turner. Let's talk about 3 defensive players that I think we're not talking enough about. And we're going to start with Dallas Turner. Now, a lot of you guys, all of a sudden, out of the blue, are very anti-Dallas Turner. And I don't understand what it is. Actually, I do know what it is. I think you all have this preconceived notion that we're not allowed to like any of Kwesi's draft picks. I'm sorry. I think because he had one bad draft, instantly we're not allowed to like any of his drafts. It's every single person that he drafts is a bust. Y'all, you can't expect young players to go out there and just instantly be good. You just can't stop it. Stop it, stop. So I need you to know, so far, let's just looking at the Pittsburgh game. Let's look at the Pittsburgh game, okay? Tackles. He had 4 tackles. 1 was a solo, 3 was an assist. Then, against Cincinnati, he had a QB hit. Against Atlanta, he had a QB hit and a tackle for a loss. He is averaging at least 4 or 5 sacks a game. Not sacks, excuse me. 4 or 5 tackles a game. Against Atlanta, he had a sack. So, he is hitting the quarterback at least once in 2 games. I don't know. For me, with it now being we're getting into week 5, that's pretty good. When you consider it, he is currently ranked 29th out of 165 edges for solo tackles with 7. 29th out of 165 edges. I don't know about you. I like those odds. He is ranked 42nd in sacks, 12th in assists. 12th. This is his second year with the Minnesota Vikings. 12th in assists. And even though he has not forced a fumble, he's still ranked 20th. And that's going into 5 weeks. He is middle to pretty decent amongst most edges. In regards to snap count, he is 5th amongst run defense snaps. He has seen 84 run defense snaps. I don't know about you, but that says a lot when you consider that last year we were one of the best run defenses. If Flo is trusting him that much, and I know that like a couple weeks ago, I was roasting their run defense. We don't know. I don't know about you, but for a rookie to already be ranked 5th in the amount of snaps that he does in the run, I like that. I dig it. I think he has room for growth, but he's a kid. It's going to take him some time. I like it. Let's talk about the next defensive player that I think people are sleeping on, and that is Joshua Metellus. You all saw this coming. You knew that I was going to have to go off about Joshua Metellus at some point because that is my man. We are not talking about Joshua Metellus enough. We're not. You guys aren't. One of the reasons why Isaiah Rodgers was able to get a touchdown in the Cincinnati game was because of a beautiful block by Joshua Metellus. Let's talk about Joshua Metellus. PFF has him ranked 14th out of 129 safeties for 18 solo tackles. He is rated 8th amongst safeties out of 129 safeties for an interception. 24th for total pressures. He has only allowed 12 receptions and is ranked 7th in that. His average ranking is about 14th out of 129 safeties. Now, let's be honest. How many other safeties do you know that does what Joshua Metellus does? No one. Nobody does what Joshua Metellus does. To the point where I was making a joke that he could go in on O-line. And now am I biased because I think the guy is really cool? Absolutely I am, but I'm going to be biased all the live long day and tell you all that you are sleeping on Joshua Metellus. 7th in receptions allowed. 7th. And now just for shits and giggles, let's look at Isaiah Rodgers, shall we? Let's see where Isaiah Rodgers is ranked in receptions. Let's look. He is ranked at 55th. And now this isn't Isaiah slander. This is not Isaiah Rodgers slander. I want that to be known because they do technically play 2 different positions. One is a safety and one is a cornerback. One is obviously going to see more receptions against him, especially with the way that they play Joshua Metellus. Okay? Okay? But if we're being honest here, Joshua Metellus looks better. And we're not talking enough about him. Granted, he's not making those big explosive plays like Isaiah Rodgers is. And that's valid. Of course, we're going to be talking about the guy that's making these big, big, big plays. And I want to be talking about that. I love that. Continue it. That blocked field goal, beautiful. Peak cinema. But y'all are sleeping on Joshua Metellus. The last defensive player that I believe that we are sleeping on. Shout out to my homegirl, Addie. You know that I was going to bring up your man. You know. I got you, Pookie. Let's talk about Harrison Smith. Because I fear you all are sleeping on Harrison Smith, which is insane to me. Now, granted, he hasn't seen the most amount of snaps, which I find to be insane. I don't know if it has something to do with getting him back into the swing of things since he's been gone due to his injury, and I'm so happy to see that he's back and that he seems to be healthy. Obviously, we don't know the circumstance in which that he's healthy, and I'm not going to sit here and speculate. Not my job. I'm not a doctor. Not going to do it. But despite that, he is still kind of lighting it up. He's absolutely still lighting it up. With the amount of snaps that he's had, he's only had 39 snaps, but with the stats that he has been able to occur in the few games that he's played, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes up for the lost games in the next couple games before and after the bye. Harrison Smith is not done yet. And I need you all to wake up to that realization. The last thing I want to talk about, I took a nap after the Steelers game because I woke up at 6 a.m. International games suck. I woke up at 6 a.m. for the Steelers game. I plan on doing it again for the Browns game. But I took a nap after the game, and I came to the realization that I think it says more that the Minnesota Vikings are losing, again, ignoring the Falcons game, are losing close games to these mid-tier teams while we are inconsistent and not at our best than it does about these teams who are clearly playing at their best and beating the Minnesota Vikings. What do I mean by that? Look at the Cincinnati game. Everybody on the line is healthy, and we blow them out of the water, as we should have. Cincinnati's not a good team. I'm sorry. Cincinnati is not a good team. We saw that last night against the Broncos. But when you consider what our team looked like on Sunday against the Steelers with the injuries and the amount of people that we had out, the amount of penalties, avoidable penalties, might I add, and we barely lost, I don't know about you. I think that says more about what the Minnesota Vikings can do once they're healthy than it does about the teams that we played against that are healthy. The Steelers barely won against us. And this is probably about as good as they're going to look this year, if I'm being completely honest. This is not as good as the Minnesota Vikings are going to look this year. I firmly believe that once these injuries are resolved, we're going to look a lot better. I think the Minnesota Vikings have a higher capacity to be better than the teams that we are losing against. I think the Falcons game taught us where we need to pick up the slack in regards to a lot of these O-line injuries. And I think the Steelers game definitely did that for the defensive line as well. But the fact that the Steelers game was as close as it was says a lot to me about what we are capable of in the season going forward than it does about what the other teams are capable of now. We're only in week 5. We still got a long way to go. We got a bye coming up. Thank God for an early bye. That's the only time I'll think you'll ever hear me say it. I don't think it's time to panic. I also don't think that critiquing your favorite team is a bad thing. I am a huge fan of a believer that in order to be a fan of something, you need to be realistic. You need to love what is good about the team and be realistic about what needs to be fixed about the team. You should never devote yourself fully to anything that you are a part of and not see its flaws. It's not healthy at that point. That's why I have this job here on the Onebar and Lupagus network. I'm here to call out what I see, and I see that this is a team with a lot of potential that just hasn't tapped into it yet. But those are my 2 cents. As always, these are just my opinions. If you don't agree, start your own podcast to challenge me then. But until then, I'm going to post what I believe. Thank you all so much for tuning into this episode of Spittin Fire with Koda. I'm surprised that I managed to make it through without coughing once. Shout out to me and my bronchitis. Just a reminder, you get 15% off on the Aries Archive website by using Spitfire15. Anything on the website. The amazing custom puffer vest that she makes, the awesome crop shirts, or the really cool chain shirts that she makes. Seriously, the crop shirts are my favorite. I own one, and it is probably my favorite Minnesota Vikings thing that I own. I need to get a lot more because I need more stuff to wear to work. She also has scrunchies, hats, anything that you want Vikings apparel wise. Aries Archive has got it for you, and you can use the code Spitfire15 for 15% off site wide. That's all for me today. Hope y'all have a good week, and I will see you at 6 in the morning for the London game. Bye, friends.